Streamers, streamers, streamers. Everyone seems to be making them now, and they've become really ubiquitous in the hi-fi space. And only a few days ago, I was contacted by a streamer manufacturer who asked me to review one of the products. So I said, sure. So it just arrived, and I'm going to do an unboxing right here for you. So here it is, just arrived. Looks like it's been a little beat up, and it doesn't weigh all that much, but let's check out this streamer. And let's see what we got. What do we got? Streamers? Hold on. There seems to be some kind of miscommunication. I didn't realize, I assumed when he said they make streamers for parties, oh dear. Seem to have, oops. Sorry about that, guys. All joking aside, yes, I've made a few videos in the past where I spoke about how I feel about streaming music and how much I prefer the experience of collecting and listening to vinyl records. But I never said that I don't regularly stream music and play my CD collection using Roon. The devices I'm going to describe and discuss in this video have certainly opened my eyes to some interesting possibilities. Many of us have been streaming music through our smartphones, tablets, and computers for years. But why would you need or want a dedicated streaming device? That's what I used to think until I bought a Bluesound Node in 2021. I'd been doing most of my streaming at home using my Mac Mini at my desk. And I was using an AudioQuest Dragonfly Black for the external DAC, and then I moved on to a Shit Modi 3. And then I started using the Dragonfly with my iPad so that I could stream music to a system in another room. And that was a pretty good solution, but the iPad had to be tethered to the amplifier with a cable, which wasn't ideal. So I bought a Bluesound Node, and I was delighted by its versatility and how easy it is to use. And the app is pretty good, and it works with the two services I was using, Amazon and Apple Music. And the $599 Bluesound Node sounds pretty good using the built-in DAC, especially in non-critical listening situations. And I did make an entertaining video a couple of years ago about the Bluesound Node with my neighbor Ross. I'll put a link in case you missed it below. Earlier this year, the Bluesound updated the Node with the 10th anniversary model called the X. It's silver now and has some updated features, including a headphone amplifier and an upgraded DAC. But the price of the new X is now $150 higher. And what's nice about the Node is that it works with a multitude of streaming services, it's Roon ready, has AirPlay 2, and you can make a multi-room Node system in your home. As I said, the app's pretty good and it's updated regularly, which is very important. But I don't have an X, so I can't say how much better it is compared to my 2-year-old model. But I'll return to this subject a bit later. A dedicated streamer does not have to deal with the noise that is generated inside a computer. Just imagine all the processes that are running simultaneously inside your PC. And you actually don't need to imagine, just open the activity monitor or task manager on your computer and scroll down through the list. It's crazy. But streaming DACs are computers as well, but they are not checking email and messages and running browser windows, connecting to your mouse and keyboard, playing videos, doing word processing, updating apps, syncing photos, etc. They're dedicated to pretty much just playing music. In this video, I will explore and evaluate some different streaming DACs that I own or have on loan for evaluation. And now let's get down to talking about a couple of very intriguing products that I've recently received to evaluate. Here is the Orchard Audio Pecan Pi Plus streaming deck. Now you may have heard of a Raspberry Pi. They are those inexpensive and compact computers that are very popular with the open source DIY computer crowd. And you can buy various components or kits and download a multitude of programs to make a very capable little computer for like around $100. And of course the DIY hi-fi enthusiasts and software engineers have seen the potential of the Raspberry Pi and put together some very nice streaming device options. You can build your own streaming deck a la carte style by purchasing and combining the needed components and choosing which music playback operating system to run it on. And then there's a few of those to choose from. However, Orchard Audio has done all the work for you with the Pecan Pi. It's basically a Generation 3 Raspberry Pi motherboard combined with an Orchard Audio custom designed DAC. It's a very unique product of a type that I've never used before. But because it's a Raspberry Pi at its heart, it also has a few of the platform's limitations. Let's take a look at its appearance. There's no screen or LEDs or controls or switches on the chunky solid black metal box, except for a volume knob in the front. Around back, this unit has a set of standard XLR balanced and optional RCA unbalanced outputs. There's also an Ethernet port and a coaxial digital input. Using Wi-Fi to connect to the web is also an option. However, there is no SPDIF optical or coaxial digital output with the Pecan Pi Plus. So if you want to try it with an external DAC, you must use one of the USB ports to connect. When you order it, you must choose which platform you want installed. I was surprised that I could only get one. I was looking to get Volumio and Roon, but Leo at Orchard Audio said it was not possible. So I'm a big Roon fan and user, so I opted for that to be installed. Roon supports Qobuz, so I signed up for the 30-day trial for this evaluation. If you don't use Roon, then most people get it with Volumio installed. And with Volumio, you can natively use Qobuz, Tidal, and high-res audio streaming services. And all the versions of the Pecan Pi Plus support Apple AirPlay 2 if you're an Apple Music user. Once you get it connected to the internet, you configure the Pecan Pi with a browser-based interface called RoPi, which is fairly easy to navigate. The Pecan Pi can be ordered with a 3.5mm headphone jack on the back for an extra $95. But if you ordered one with the optional RCA jacks, you can still use headphones, but you will need to unplug the cables and use an adapter. The RCA outputs are powered by a discrete headphone amp. And then while I was in the middle of making this video, I received an email from the people at Volumio asking if I was interested in trying out one of their hardware streaming products. And I was familiar with Volumio as the maker of the music streaming software that runs on Raspberry Pis, but not as a maker of hardware as well. But I learned they make a DAC, a streaming DAC, and a streaming DAC with a Class D amplifier. And since I was working with the Pecan Pi already, I opted for the Primo streaming DAC. And it was promptly shipped from Rome, Italy, and arrived at my doorstep in Florida in less than a week. That's remarkable. It comes with an attractive box with a power cord and various international plug adapters and the manual inside. And then you go to the Apple App Store or Google Play Store and download the Volumio app and create a free account. I use the Ethernet to connect to the web, but Wi-Fi is also an option. I then went to the Roon app on my Mac, and it already detected the Primo. So I just clicked the Enable button, and it was ready to go. I started using my 30-day Qobuz trial, which, along with Tidal, is nicely integrated in Roon, Volumio, Bluesound, and Wim. You know, I may cancel my Amazon Music subscription. I really like the Qobuz integration. The Primo is a smartly styled device with a bent piece of aluminum elegantly wrapped around the top and the sides. The front panel appears to be made of wood that's been painted matte black, with Primo Volumio lettering cleanly stenciled in white. And right in the center is a large copper-orange colored button with an LED that changes color to indicate the Primo status. It looks and feels very solidly constructed. Around the back, there are standard sets of balanced XLR and unbalanced RCA outputs. The 5-volt mains connection, a digital coaxial output, a USB 3 input to connect to an external SSD or CD drive, a gigabit Ethernet port, a micro SD slot, a USB-C service port, an HDMI port to connect to a TV or monitor display, a USB 2 port for thumb drives, a mouse or keyboard, according to the manual. So far, so good. I'm digging the Primo. I also find the Volumio app to be fairly easy to navigate and is acceptably responsive, about the same as the Bluesound app in my home network. And for your computer, there's no desktop app to download. You use your browser to access the Volumio's web app to access the Primo's functionality. And I find it to be clean, responsive, and easy to navigate. Now, if you get the Pecan Pi with Volumio, I believe you'll get a very similar experience. Inside the two streamers, we have different technologies to achieve similar goals. As I mentioned earlier, the Pecan Pi is a Raspberry Pi computer with the Orchard Audio's custom DAC module. And the DAC chip is AKM's latest flagship. And the differentiating secret sauce, according to Leo at Orchard Audio, is the signal reclocking, proprietary filtering, and the implementation of the high-quality analog output stage. Now, when I think of Volumio, I immediately think of Raspberry Pi. That's because, from my experience, the majority of Raspberry Pi-based streamers use that OS to function. So I was a bit taken aback when I learned that the Volumio Primo has an Android-based Caddis Vim 3L computer inside, not a Raspberry Pi. And why did they go that route? Well, they tell me because it's more powerful, gives the Primo features that you won't easily get with a Raspberry Pi, like the HDMI video output, 16 gigabytes of internal storage, an SD card slot, and coaxial digital outputs. The audio output is designed around a Sabre 9038 Q2M DAC, which is a very capable performer. One unique feature that differentiates the Primo from some of the other streamers on the market is the inclusion of 16 gigabytes of internal storage. So you can connect the CD drive to the USB 3 port and rip CDs as high-quality FLAC files. Very useful if you have CDs that are not available on streaming services. And I have a few of those. And 16 gigabytes holds about 60 CDs or 700 tracks. You simply insert the disc and tell Volumio to rip it. Very easy. My history with streaming DACs informs me that although they may have serviceable built-in DACs, you'll get better results by adding a good quality external unit. But you know what? I don't feel that has to be an automatic with the Pecan Pi Plus and the Primo. To my ears and in my systems, both streamers do a terrific job presenting plenty of resolution and body to the music. At no time did I feel my enjoyment was being shortchanged by their respective DACs. I did my comparisons on my two primary systems. My desk setup comprises of a NAME NATE 5SI and a pair of ProAc Response 2.5s, and my main system currently is a Conrad Johnson tube preamp feeding a Carry audio tube amplifier. And the speakers are modified Magnepan 1.6Xs. Cables are from Vandenhall and Blue Jeans, and my reference DAC is a Holo Audio Spring 3 KTE. Comparing the Pecan Pi and Primo to the Bluesound Node and my Holo Audio reference DAC in terms of how they sounded to me, this is what I have gleaned. Regarding the Bluesound Node, and this is not the latest model, but the sound initially impresses for a few minutes. Plenty of high-frequency detail is being reproduced, and it sounds sort of dynamic in a limited manner. Because you soon notice that the soundstage is exceedingly two-dimensional, it's kind of bright and sparkly, but thin, with not much depth. And then the sparkliness becomes somewhat annoying and fatiguing. There's not much bottom end compared to the other models here. Bluesound addresses these shortcomings with 3 types of digital outputs: coax, Toslink, and USB, to easily allow the addition of a better external DAC, which is commendable and why I have been a satisfied Bluesound user for 2.5 years. As I said, the Orchard Audio Pecan Pi Plus uses the latest and greatest AKM DAC chipset, and it performs like it. You do get that even, well-rounded sound, and with a really satisfying bottom end. The implementation of the DAC module is excellent, and this is a fantastic standalone DAC, even without the streaming functionality. If I compare it to the $960 SMSL D400EX DAC, which has the same AKM chipset and with similar implementation inside, I'm having a difficult time hearing any difference between them. The SMSL DAC is very nicely designed and constructed with a remote and all the input and output connections you could ask for. But there's no streaming module and no headphone amplifier, which the Pecan Pi Plus does have. Now, regarding to how well the Primo sounded to me in my systems, it was very impressive overall, with great high frequency resolution and clarity, which is generally the hallmark of a properly implemented ESS Sabre DAC. The new Bluesound Node X uses an ESS 9028Q2M DAC, and the Primo has the ESS 9038Q2M. Spec-wise, the chip in the Primo is a tad better in most areas, especially in jitter performance. But I've repeated it many times that measurements and specs only tell a very small part of the story, so without getting a chance to compare them head to head, I cannot tell you which one I prefer. The Pecan Pi Plus does have the qualities that AKM-based DACs are known for, as it has a dynamic, warmish, evenly balanced sound, and it punches harder than the Primo in the lower registers. Whereas the Primo gives a bit more emphasis to the higher frequencies and doesn't dig quite as deep. Neither streaming DAC sounded harsh, strident, or fatiguing to my ears. Both were exceedingly smooth and engaging. That the Primo sounds better to me than my Bluesound Node, there's no doubt about that. But how it compares to the Orchard Audio Pecan Pi is another matter. But then it becomes a matter of which you or I prefer. Now, the Holo Audio Spring 3 KTE in comparison really expands the soundstage. With the music just sounds wider, taller, and deeper. And the separation between instruments increases as well. But it's a much more expensive R2R DAC with a premium level of construction and components. Which one do I recommend for you to consider as your next streaming DAC? It's not that clear cut. Both have pluses and minuses. If you're looking for a streamer around $800 that is not a Bluesound Node with some different features, but performs better out of the box, then you can't go wrong with either one. Consider the Pecan Pi Plus if sleek appearance is not a top priority, but sound quality is. If you like to listen with headphones and prefer to use XLR connections to your amp or preamp. And the DAC module inside is very capable and holds its own, and can be satisfactorily used as a standalone DAC. On the other hand, consider the Primo with standard balanced and unbalanced outputs. If you want a sleek and stylish looking model and want Rune and everything that Volumio can run as well, and maybe you'd like 16 gigabytes of internal storage. I really enjoyed using both of these streaming DACs very much, and they both met my standards of performance and sound quality at their price point. As standalone units, both outperformed my 2021 Bluesound Node on sound quality alone. Until quite recently, whenever someone asks for recommendations on which streaming DAC to get, the usual answer was, just get a Bluesound Node. But after using the Pecan Pi Plus and Volumio Primo for a while, the answer is not so automatic. Based on value, features, and performance, both of these models are total contenders to take market share from the Node, and I highly recommend that you check them out before deciding. And I hope that you've been inspired to give this episode a thumbs up and to subscribe for more amazing content. And join my mission to pursue a better hi-fi tomorrow. Your involvement matters. And you can join my Patreon for a mere $3 a month and receive early ad-free access to new content and to help me keep this channel going. Every little helps. And don't forget to always enjoy your own devices. See ya.